Commission meeting. Welcome to our Monday, April 18th, 2011 meeting. Could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioners Bennett?
Yes.
Patrick? Yes. Bob Fogel is absent. Sharkey? Here. President Khan.
Here.
The agenda for the April 18th, 2011 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on Tuesday, April 12th, 2011. At item 2, introductions and presentations, 2A, volunteer recognition.
Good afternoon, President Khan, members of the Commission. Between the recording period of March 1st last year, 2010, and February 28, 2011, over 400 volunteers have dedicated 7,566 hours of service to the Community Services and Parks Department. We truly appreciate all that time. Whether it's 1 hour or 919 hours, the volunteers have spent time and effort to make our programs better, to enhance the type of activities that are at the community center, so we truly appreciate their work. Today we're going to give special recognition to the top volunteers in our various sites and programs, and we're joined today by some of our site volunteers who will be introducing them. First of all, I'd like to say that Iris Hidalgo is our volunteer coordinator for the department, and so she coordinates all the volunteer activities, registers all the volunteers, and makes sure that anyone who is interested in volunteering can come and join our department, and so they'll be placed somewhere with some type of activity. We always need help. So I'd like to begin by calling Jeff Weinstein. Jeff is in charge of our Trails and Open Space program, and he's our specialist. He's going to talk to you about the third Saturday of the month Wilderness Workday volunteer program.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the Commission. Jeff Weinstein, staff. As many of you know, Duke Major Wilderness Park was closed for 9 months following the station fire. It was reopened to the public in June of last year. During the time the facility was closed, we had heard from a number of park users asking, how can I help? Starting in July of 2010 and continuing on a monthly basis, we created the third Saturday of the month Wilderness Workday. Volunteers have joined us for trail building, sandbag making, weeding, planting of big cone spruce, waterings, and collecting of seeds from native plants. At last week's California's Trail and Greenways Conference, the third Saturday events were recognized as one of the top trails and greenway programs in the state. Today we want to share the award with the Commission and especially with our dedicated volunteers. The plaque that we received last week. Questions?
So this is from the state?
Right.
How many of them like this did they award?
Well, every year at the conference they have different categories in project planning, construction, acquisition, events, volunteers, 25 years or more, and this was the program category, and this is recognized as one of the top in the state.
Congratulations. It's beautiful.
Yes, I just want to add my congratulations and also thank all the volunteers that helped with this, because I know that this was a labor of love for them as well.
They're out there every month. We're trying to keep it interesting by doing different themes. And they come out. Last Saturday was a great example. Record heat. We probably had 50 or more people weeding, watering, and building trails. And again, with the tight budgets and staff, they make it happen.
Yeah, what's nice is if the trees are planted, we have volunteers who go up and visit their trees. And I was there Saturday for Earth Day, and also wanted to add to thank the volunteers from the gas company who are incredible, who also the gas company made a donation to our foundation, Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation, so I wanted to thank them for that too. So it was a great day. Everybody was so enthusiastic.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next I'd like to introduce Nune Sagamonian, Community Service Specialist with our Youth and Family Services Program, and she will introduce her volunteers.
Good afternoon, President Khan and Commissioners. I am very honored to be here to represent two outstanding individuals who have communicated and have come to... Okay, thank you. Who are volunteering their service to our programs. At this time, I'd like to bring them up Itzel and Audrey, may you guys come up? Also, we're going to just combine. We have one more volunteer, and Marco Tejedia, who works with the with Youth and Family Services, is going to present the other volunteer as well.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Marco Tejedia. I work for the City of Glendale, and I'd like to introduce Isai Hernandez. Isai Hernandez.
Hi.
He works, he actually is at Glendale High School. He's a senior, and he's volunteered with us, completing 109 hours of community service. And he did that for his school, and when he first came to us, he had never volunteered before. So we talked about the different populations that the City of Glendale has, opportunities for volunteers and to serve the community. And he was open to work with children or with seniors. And so we sent him to a few sites like the Senior Center, the Adult Recreation Center, and also to Maple Park, to the Penny Arcades, Penny Carnivals that they have every year. And he also helped us in the car show, Cruise Night. So I think he got a lot of valuable experience working with the populations.
Great. I would like to say something about Itzel Mendez. She's worked 63 hours with our programs, and Audrey Martinez, she's worked 83 hours. They started with the Youth and Family Services program. They were part of that program with the staff assisting them to do community service, to do outreach, etc. They've done different programs, and they've assisted different staff with Penny Carnivals, Winter Wonderland, alley cleanups, helping the staff do things here and there. Currently, they are with the Therapeutic Recreation Program, and that's the program that I work with, and they're just outstanding. Their compassion, their service, they're responsive to the participants really brings it up to grade and to value. Our participants love them and honor them, and we would just like to thank them beyond what they do. They're a great individual and great teens. So thank you so much on behalf of the participants, the City of Glendale. Keep up the great work. Would you guys like to say something?
Please.
Sorry. I'd like to thank everyone that's come here that appreciates the work that we've done. It really helps us. It really motivates us to keep going and keep volunteering.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad that I can help the city and stuff, and it helps me like stay focused in school and stuff, and it helps me like stay keeps me like doing stuff, not like just home and doing nothing. So it keeps me just busy and stuff. So and I like it. It's fun for me to work with them. I'm glad.
All right.
Well, I think we have some certificates for you, and I think we'd like to thank you guys for all your hard work and what you do for our city. So thank you very much. And then I think Commissioner Patrick's going to come down and award you these certificates. Oh, I know. I think there's a photo opportunity as well.
Oh, yes. Would you like to get in this?
Great. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
And now I would like to introduce Savag Garabichian, our Community Service Coordinator at the Adult Community Center at the Central Park Complex, and he will introduce volunteers there.
Good afternoon, President Khan, Commissioners. My name is Savag Garabichian, Community Services Coordinator and I'm responsible for senior programs and events at the Adult Recreation Center. The volunteers that work at the Adult Recreation Center assist staff in one of the following ways. They greet the participants at the front desk. They tend to the coffee station. They lead bingo, check in nutritional meals program participants, serve the meals, assist staff with filing, and monitor our game room. Please allow me to introduce 7 of our volunteers we are recognizing today. Number 1 is Olga Guevara, who's worked 172 hours for us doing meals at Pacific Community Center and volunteering at Adult Recreation Center as well. Olga, if you would come up. Next is Anita Bayoko, 190 and a half hours, working front desk at the Adult Recreation Center and meals. Yeah. We have Carol Tanner, worked 309 and a half hours doing meals. Gloria Teeper, who's worked 382 and a half hours doing front desk and exercise classes. She checks in our exercise class participants every morning. Next, we have Anita Preisler, who's worked 425 and a half hours doing meals and bingo. Mr. Patatanyan, Mr. Yegnazar Patatanyan, he's our game room attendant. He's worked 839 hours.
Wow. Wow.
And finally, Margie Aruski, who works in our meals program and helps us in the office in the afternoons. She's worked 919 hours.
Jeez. We have some certificates to give down to you, so let Commissioner Sharkey get down there.
Wait. Olga's not in it.
Oh, okay.
Why don't you take them?
Thank you very much for all you guys do. We really appreciate it.
We have one volunteer who could not make it today. Dick Jover. He is the volunteer in charge of our Masters Drop-In Soccer program at the sports complex. It started out one morning on a Wednesday morning, and Dick has grown the program single-handedly with a little bit of help from our recreation staff I think we're doing 3 days now, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Dick's in charge of the scheduling. He checks everyone in. He unfortunately couldn't make it, but he puts in 340 hours each year, and this is basically his hobby right now, working on that in the mornings as soccer players drop in. So we thank Dick for his time. That's the end of the report.
Great. Thank you very much for that. And thank you all. What's next?
At 2B, presentation by Home at Men Glendale Ara chapter.
Okay. Chairperson Khan, members of the Commission, my name is Armand Gorgorian. I'm the Executive Director of Homanetmen Glendale Ara Chapter. We are an organization that have been in City of Glendale since 1978, and I was asked to make a presentation introducing us one more time to the community and to your Commission. Our Homanetmen is a worldwide organization all over the world, and our chapter in Glendale is the largest in the world. We were established in December of 1978 with 7 kids, and now we are over 2,500 members. We are a non-profit organization, and our activities are year-round. It's not seasonal. We have athletics, scouting, cultural, volunteer programs that goes all around the year. The main reason for that is, and when we get to our missions, I will emphasize again, because we try to keep the kids off the streets and thus get them involved in different activities, either scouting or cultural or athletic, and thus do our share in this community. Please understand, we are not an organization specifically for the Armenian Americans, but again, majority of our membership are Armenian Americans. And we all know that we have about 80,000 Armenian Americans in the city of Glendale. So if we are able to serve some of that community, we have done our job. We wish we could serve much more than what we're doing right now, but at this moment we have 2,500 members that we service. We have 2 campuses. We started with 2 rooms in 1978 next to the old Armenian church on Carlton, and then we moved to Burbank, to Broadway in city of Glendale. And then after 7 years of researching to find a larger place, because that was not enough for us, it was 2 houses and the backyards, we combined and made a basketball court out of that. We finally found this main campus on San Fernando Road, not this one, the one prior to that, and we purchased that in 1996, November of 1996. And that became small for us, for the services that we were providing, and 2007 we purchased the North Campus, which is this one here. The main campus is equipped with 2 main gymnasiums. Each one of them we utilize half court, and at any given time we have 4 teams that practice. One of them we use it for a banquet hall when we need, or big events, meeting halls. We have a coffee shop for the parents when they bring their children there to be able to wait there, either stay in the coffee shop or the fitness center that we are providing for the parents to use it while they're waiting. On the North Campus, we offer multi-sport gymnasium, a parents' lounge, a cultural activities center, and a meeting room. Homenetmen Western Region has a Camp Tekoya that is available to us when we have any outside activities. We can use them also. I'm way ahead of you, I think. That's all we've got? Okay. Our mission statement is to prepare exemplary and law-abiding citizens by providing physical and health education, endowing the mind and soul of the members with the finest spirit of sportsmanship, and developing an understanding of responsibility and honor as they strive for individual and collective excellence. One thing is important to mention, that the membership or the youth that we serve, majority of them, probably over 70% of them, are from South Glendale, and they are from low to moderate income families. We started in South Glendale, we stayed in South Glendale, although one of our campuses is located in the city of Los Angeles, but still the name is Glendale chapter, and we serve Glendale population. We have people coming from La Crescenta, Tahunga, Sunland, Los Angeles, Burbank, but majority of them are Glendalians. We have different programs. We have athletic programs, scouting, and which the scouting, I should emphasize that we are a member of Verdugo Hills Council, Boy Scouts of America. We are actually the largest troop that they have, Troop 151. Cultural programs, educational, public relations, alumni, parent participation, our D-League program. This is a program that we started about 3 years ago. In essence, it is something that we strive to have for all our programs, because it's a combination of parents and children together. The whole program is being organized by the parents. It's a great program. That's something to watch. Non-event based fundraising programs, wellness center that we just starting it by the end of this month, early May. Again, we are looking forward to kids not old enough that can participate in our athletic or scouting organizations, but old enough to have physical activities, plus their parents, that they come there for the kids. So we are in discussion with a professional that she can come and start these wellness programs in our organization. Community-based programs and social responsibility programs. Our athletic programs are including basketball, soccer, table tennis, volleyball, martial arts, rhythmic gymnastics, and chess. We organize different tournaments and we participate in different tournaments. Table tennis, our table tennis tournament is one of the best in this area because it is sanctioned by the Table Tennis Federation, and during our previous tournaments, we've had national champions or foreign country champions from England or South America participating in our program. Tennis, which we are going to celebrate our 10th anniversary of our tennis tournament in May. Summer day camps, volleyball tournaments, and the Navasatian Games, which is the Armenian Olympics in local Los Angeles, larger Los Angeles area, that we are the largest participant. Every year we participate with about 70-some basketball teams and other teams, totaling about 1,000 athletes in this tournament, in these games. Our Scouting Division has instilled within its members and youth the values of teamwork and leadership. The objective is to help Scouts develop character, citizenship, knowledge of Armenian culture, and personal fitness, and acquire the wealth of knowledge associated with the participating in Scouting. One of the things that we are very proud of, that we combine the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts together. Verdugo Hills Council doesn't have a Girl Scouts program, but because of us, they have adopted, at least they have allowed us to do that. So our scouting program includes Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, and Brownies. And for the first time, last month, we produced 2 Eagle Scouts, which we are very proud of it. And we had an event in our center. Verdugo Hills Council representatives were there, and representatives from the Adam Schiff's office and any other elected officials, and it was a very good program. We believe that we will have another 4 Eagle Scouts within the next couple of months. They have been working for 4 years to get to this point. We have cultural programs on the side. There are a lot of organizations and clubs in this community that are teaching any cultural material. They have dance classes, they have painting classes. Ours is unique in a way that we thought that these kids that we have within our organization, if they want to do anything more than athletic activities or scouting, they should have something within the organization to be able to do that. And then we started the dance classes for younger kids, the painting classes, and we also have our choir for the older people that like to sing, stuff like that. We have educational programs, which is, we are very proud of it. Last month, we had Armenian youth identity in this community. We had a seminar for that. We had 4 speakers. The main issue was that majority of us being new to this community, coming from Middle East or anywhere else, we have to be able to adjust and adapt to this community. And we thought that was a good step towards educating our youth, our teenagers and their parents, how to adapt and adjust to this community. We have public relations programs. We have our own website. We have social media, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Monthly online newsletters. We send out newsletters out every month, press releases, and press conferences. One of the things that is a major hurdle for us is the financing. Our monthly expenses is very high. Our monthly expense is about $65,000 to $70,000. The minimal funds that we bring in through our membership fees if we are able to collect all of them, covers about 1/3 of our expenses. Because, as I mentioned to you, our membership are mostly from low to moderate income families. If they come to us and say we just cannot pay for it, so they don't pay. I'm saying if they all paid, it would have been 1/3 of our overall expenses cost. So we are relying, or so far we have relied on our fundraising events, banquets, donations, things like that. With the economy nowadays, that also is not an option. So we are working on non-event fundraising programs right now. We're working towards that and see how it will work. One of the things that we're looking forward is that wellness program that I just mentioned previously, and we hope that that will generate some funds. We are selling advertisement on our website, on our e-news, $50 a month, or we're going to have monitors on in our two campuses and have businesses advertise on our campuses, because if we are able to bring the businesses to Homenetmen, we are telling them that you are getting exposed to an 80,000 people community out there. So it is worthwhile for everyone. And all of it is for us to be able to bring in enough funds to serve the kids. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Do you guys have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Pretty
It's a great job, though,
Thank you.
especially for the kids.
I just want to say thank you for coming in. I always knew that your organization did the scouting and the sports, but I didn't know all the other things that you did. So this was very informative for me, and I'm sure for the community.
Thank you, Commissioner Patrick.
And if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they reach you?
Our website, www.ararat.org, or they can reach us weekdays after 2 o'clock at 323-256-2564.
Great.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Sure. Bye.
What is next?
Item 3, Commission and Staff Comments.
Comments? Do you guys have comments?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I'm very excited about this. Our foundation, Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation, it's not even 2 years old, and the city right now is having a Verdugo Mountains 10K trail and hike. No, did I say that right? Run and trail hike. When we started out, we thought, oh, do you think we could get 200 runners? And we were all kind of scared about this. And last count, we're up to 300 and counting. So we're doing great. I was there on Sunday. It's a great trail, but you have to take on the mountain. But there's a lot of shade. It's going to be a great day, a great event. Not only do we have 15 firefighters training for it, we had a little 6-year-old training for it this weekend. He was just running up there, and he got to about 2 miles, and Mom made him turn around. But anyway, it's going to be a great day. It's May 1st. And am I leaving anything out, Jeff, about...
Website.
Oh, the website, www.runtheverdugos.com. So it's runtheverdugos.com. Please visit our website. I think, there's a flyer up. Our T-shirts are going to look like that. It was designed by someone here at GTV6. So we're going to have great-looking T-shirts. We're going to have lots of prizes for runners and medals. And as I didn't mention, it's our first annual 10K event. So please come out and see us that day. And you want to add anything? So,
No, I think you covered
all right.
everything.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. I did want to mention one thing. Last week, we actually had a groundbreaking for our Riverwalk project, which was Phase 1, which extends, I think, from the west, which is Betty Davis Park in the city of Los Angeles, to the east, which is right around where ABC 7 is. And this project has been going on for quite a number of years trying to put this thing together. And it finally has come together with the funding and doing the first phase. And it's a joint project from the city of Glendale and also with the city of Los Angeles. So we're very excited that we started that project. And I think it'll be completed towards the end of the year. It was either October or November of this year. And then hopefully we'll move on to the next phase. Those are my comments. Does staff have any comments they'd like to bring up at this time? Okay, what's next?
Item 4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The commission may question the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The director may refer the matter to the proper section for investigation and report.
Great. We have a few cards. The first is Stephen Messer.
President Khan, members of the Commission, my name is Stephen Messer and I currently serve as the Vice President of CORBA, the Concerned Off-Road Bicyclists Association. We're an all-volunteer, non-profit, dedicated to preserving our open spaces and promoting healthy and sustainable mountain bike recreation. We represent off-road cyclists from across the Los Angeles and Ventura counties and work with land managers throughout the region. We're a chapter of the International Mountain Bicycling Association. I'm here today to ask you to consider allowing the Glendale Community Services and Parks Department to work with us and the community at large to develop a bicycle skills park on Glendale's public land. A bike skills park is a dedicated facility for bicycle recreation. Bike skills parks include features designed specifically for bicycles, such as progression dirt jumps, pump tracks, skill and balance areas, and trails. They allow cyclists to develop and hone their bike handling skills. Bike park features should be progression-based, which is to say there are features for all skill levels. A beginner can have as much fun as an expert and gradually progress to more challenging features as their skills improve. They can be suitable for kids as young as 3 or 4 and for adults as young as they want to feel. Bike skills parks are not a new concept. There are successful bike parks operating in cities around the country, with many more at various stages of planning, funding, and construction. There is no such facility in Southern California, and Glendale has the opportunity to lead the way and further enhance its image as a bicycle-friendly city. A bike skills park has a similar risk profile to a skate park. Glendale's existing skate park is regarded as one of the best in Southern California. However, bicycles are not allowed to use it and are constantly being turned away. The result is that these cyclists are building terrain parks, jumps, and trails in unauthorized locations. Riders have in fact been taking matters into their own hands, with this unauthorized construction taking place in and around the area for more than 6 years. 3 such locations have recently been bulldozed. Without an authorized place for riders to build and have these types of cycling experiences, it is likely that they will continue to build in new and obscure locations. Instead of expending the energy to drive these people out, we should be harnessing their efforts to create something for the community. We have the support of local bike shops, the International Mountain Bike Association, and the SoCal High School Mountain Bike League, which is headquartered in Glendale. Glendale has the highest concentration of high school mountain bike teams in Southern California. The director of the league is a Glendale resident and former Glendale police officer. He's an active supporter of the Bike Skills Park concept, as it would provide an invaluable training facility for the high school teams. We have over 600 signatures on a petition calling for and supporting the idea of a bike skills park. Most signatures are from Southern California, many from Glendale residents. And bike skills parks are less expensive to construct than comparable skate parks. Kids have been out building of their own volition the types of bike experience that existing facilities are unable to provide. There is an unmet demand here. If given the opportunity and the space, the community will volunteer their time to help design, build, and maintain such a facility. That spirit of volunteerism is vibrant and alive in every bike park facility of which I'm aware. I have a list of people eager to start the process of working and volunteering with the city to provide for themselves and the community such a bike park facility. Finally, I attended the release party for a new documentary about a bike park construction 2 days ago. The documentary's title sums it up: Bring the Riding to the People. I have a copy here for you to review, and I have given a copy to the parks, to Jeff Weinstein downstairs. So I'm available to you if you have any questions or information that you need to help move this process forward. Again, I humbly request that the Commission take up this proposal and allow us to move forward in this process with the goal of providing the fun, healthy recreation, stewardship, community spirit and volunteerism that can stem from a bike skills park. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? I see Commissioner Bennett. Dick, turn
Your mic.
Glendale has the highest concentration of high school mountain bike teams in Southern California. What does that mean?
There are 4 teams locally. There's the Burroughs High School team in Burbank. There's the Crescenta Valley team. There is the St. Francis High School team, and there is the San Gabriel Composite team, which is comprised of many schools in the San Gabriel Valley. But all of them are coming to use Glendale trails for training.
Okay. What?
There's no other place in Southern California where so many teams are using the same trails for their training.
Okay. I was also surprised that there isn't something like this here in Southern California.
There have been attempts to build them. There was an attempt in San Diego County 2 years ago, but they ran into an endangered species on the land that they were looking at and were unable to complete it. There is one in the planning stages in Carlsbad, California, but it is nowhere near completion or even funding yet. The closest one to us is actually in Kernville, California, which is up in the southern Sierras in Kern County.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, too. Where are the trails that the teams use for training now?
The Verdugo Hills, Cherry Canyon, the San Rafael Hills, Duke Majan, now that it's open.
Okay, and how much land is needed for this kind of a park?
A park can be built in anywhere from 5 to 10 acres, and we've actually identified a few sites. During the development of the Trails Master Plan 2 years ago, which was adopted by the Glendale City Council in 2008, we identified new trail corridors, but we also identified the need for a bike skills park, and it does appear on the Glendale Master Trails Plan as adopted by the City Council.
And I'm not sure whether this is a question for you or for staff, but a couple of months ago we heard from Colin Bogart, and he had kind of the LA Master Plan, and it was mostly surface streets, but he was also talking about mountain trails. How do these two groups fit together?
Yes, Commissioner or President Khan, Commissioner Patrick, I was thinking along the same lines. The City Council will be reviewing, and the recommendation is to adopt that plan tomorrow. My suggestion would be for the department to do a real quick feasibility analysis, put a group together, including Mr. Colin Bogart, and see what the feasibility might be in developing this kind of project. I can't tell you now is not a good time to be requesting new projects given the challenges of the budget and the staff resources, but is the mic on? Okay. But we could do a quick feasibility analysis. I'd also like to get some background from staff in terms of to what extent we've evaluated this type of project before. So we could get back to Mr. Messer.
Thank you.
All right. I thank you for the time to speak.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I must compliment you. That was quite an impressive presentation.
Thank you.
I have another card from Mauricio Barba, and I'm assuming it says agenda item, but I'm assuming it's oral communications that you wanted to speak on?
It's to piggyback on what Mr. Messer just talked about.
Sounds good. Go ahead, please.
I'm actually the head coach of a local mountain biking team at Burroughs High School in Burbank. And just to give a little background on the league, there's about 30 teams in the Southern California area that compete in this league. We're right in the thick in the middle of the season right now, and we're always looking for trails to ride on. Our league actually emphasizes the importance of volunteerism in terms of trail work or community events. My team was actually at the Earth Day event yesterday in Burbank, where we actually tuned up 25 bikes for free. So we were out there for free doing it. The same thing would apply in building this park. We would actually provide the workforce to build this park. And in terms of a skate park, dirt's a lot cheaper than concrete. So we'd be happy to take on any responsibility we could to get this park in place. That's all I have.
Great.
Can I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes.
I'm still concerned about the bicycles and the hikers on the same trail? This was the same kind of question I asked Colin when he was here. So when you guys are out practicing, how do you work it so that the bicycles and the hikers don't have collisions?
Well, that's a big issue, not only with our league, but just with trail use in general.
Right.
There's always a battle, so to speak. What we emphasize is courteous, just respect. We always yield. We teach we need to yield to hikers. Stephen is a member of the Corba organization, which emphasizes these factors in terms of trail safety. We're always working with the hikers and equestrians and trying to, I guess, improve our access to trails and kind of mitigate the problems that we've had in the past with unruly type mountain bikers, so to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Where do you hold the meets when there's a meet? I mean, since there's no park around here.
Races, yes. They're actually all over Southern California. Temecula, we just came back from Lake Arrowhead on a race. Lake Isabella, and our state championships is in Los Olivos this year. So we're pretty spread out, but we've got teams as far north as Bakersfield in our league to far south as San Diego. And I work for the city here, so I have a pretty big interest in what goes on in this city, and I'd like to give back as much as I can. So.
Well, thank you again. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Okay, two more cards. Olga Guerva. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Please.
My name is Olga Guevara, and my concern is, okay, I go to ARC and I go to Pacific. Pacific's got a little bit of more parking spaces, but ARC has only maybe 5 handicap and no parking at all. I mean, the library's next door, the library's got a lot of parking. ARC doesn't have no parking, but yet we have all this big piece of land there. So, I mean, at least what they could do is put a parking in there. I was over in East LA at Gloria Molina's Community Center, and over there, right in the front, they have like at least about 20 spaces for handicap. On the other side, they've got a big area where they've got a big parking lot, and all this is enclosed. You know, it's all fenced in. I mean, East LA, and I mean, Glendale's nicer. I mean, and here we have, in East LA, we got a community center, Gloria Molina Community Center, that is beautiful. I mean, I don't know what the difference is between ARC and the library. I mean, the library's got a lot of parking there, but yet we can't park at the library. And parking all around the area is only like 2-hour parking. So if you park your car outside, you got to run out, move your car if you're going to be there more than 2 hours. This is at ARC. I believe that before they used to have where they gave them a little tag or something and they could park their car in the back. I mean, this is the old building, where the old building was. So I don't know, I mean, we need parking. That's all there is to it. I mean, we don't want to walk 3 blocks or, I mean, I know that they say we could park over at that, where Circuit City used to be. But I mean, people are handicapped. People don't want to walk that far. I mean, I'm handicapped. I can't walk that far. And I know there's a lot of people that are around there also. So, I mean, is there any way that you guys have all this land right there where the old ARC was? I mean, give us a parking space for ARC, because we need it.
Okay.
No, Maple doesn't have that much parking either.
Well, we'll ask some questions.
Okay.
We appreciate you bringing up the idea, though, or the thoughts.
So who's going to be, what's going to happen, though? I mean, you know, are they going to look into it for our parking, you know, or what?
We're going to thank you for speaking, and then we'll ask.
Okay.
That's okay, though.
Okay.
But thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
Thanks. So I'd now look to the staff, and obviously in terms of parking, one is how does it work, the relationship of parking at the library and parking for the ARC, and maybe address some of the concerns that was brought up.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman Khan. Actually, I'm going to defer to George and Joanne in terms of the number of handicap parking spaces designated for the ARC. How many do we have, George or Joanne?
I can't remember.
You said 5, right?
Yeah, there's 4. There's 4 directly in front of the building. Then there's street parking that's 2 hours. And then there's the 1-hour parking in the library parking lot. And then they can go to the parking structure, but there's a time limit on that also.
Yeah, but the parking structure, that's far. I mean,
Right.
we don't really
They have
want to
to
be
walk.
walking. I mean, half of the seniors are either on wheelchairs or whatever, pushing the carts. I mean, we don't want to be able to, we don't want to. I mean, I thought it was great when we had it in the parking area behind, well, right next to the center, but now they've moved it. And also another thing is that there's parking on the street, but yet there's no lines. I don't know what you call them, where you can park in between the lines, but yet Colorado's got it. So, I mean, that would be another thing too, because, I mean, seniors, we think we can do anything, I guess, and then we take 2 parkings. I mean, I've seen it.
Let us talk about this. Thank you very much for bringing this up, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman Khan, I'd like to suggest that we do a follow-up report, and we can also report on the plan for the Phase 2, which is the park improvements at the ARC. That project's going to be going before the City Council in about a month anyway to authorize us to go out to bid for development of the park, and I don't think there's any parking slated as part of Phase 2 either, right?
No, it's not. And we went through a large scenario with the whole Central Park, trying to figure out ways to keep as much green space as possible there. And so that's why they did not want, between the parking that's to the west, public parking there, they felt that, okay, we'll try to concentrate most of our parking there. Way in the future, some of the other items are that we were going to consider an underground parking structure under that current, the green space area, the area that's going to be developed, into parkland, green space. So they wanted to preserve as much as possible the open green park area and not have it become asphalt.
Which makes sense. One of the things is, though, that I was a little surprised to learn. I thought that people could park in the library parking lot and then come over because of the close proximity. But I guess there is a 1-hour restriction or some restricted parking. Maybe we should look at that. I mean, those parking spaces are available and open and possibly should be used, especially longer than an hour.
The library has 3 levels of parking. The parking spaces in front of the building are 30 minutes. The parking spaces that we're talking about now are an hour, and the rest of anybody else that comes to use the library is expected to park across the street in the marketplace. And the library actually has a lot of the same issues that the Adult Recreation Center has, in that many people that use the library are older. They have the walkers and they have trouble getting around, and so the idea is that those parking spaces would be for an hour so that people would have that amount of time to come in and go out of the library and the Adult Recreation Center. And if they needed to spend longer, then they would have the opportunity to park in the marketplace, and they do have 3-hour validation. I'm not sure what the Adult Recreation Center has for the marketplace, but the same. So if you come in to use the library or the Adult Recreation Center from the marketplace, then you have a 3-hour validation. So it's always been kind of a juggling act to allow as many people as possible to use the 2 facilities. Is that parking lot on the west side, is that long, narrow one, is that still there? Because that has longer parking.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so there's a variety of parking, and there's not enough parking for anybody in the area because people really don't want to walk across the street from the marketplace parking lot. And so it's a problem and needs to be looked at.
I think as long as we look at it and make sure we're using it as efficiently as we can, then that's the best we can do. So.
I'm not sure about that strip, where you mentioned it's all metered parking, and I believe at one time there were spaces for ARC. I'm not positive about that.
Yes, we'll have to do a follow-up report, Chairman Khan. Actually, under all our communications, we probably shouldn't be discussing this to the extent that we are, because we're not supposed to have a discussion.
Keep us in line.
About time.
Having said that, then we'll move on. One last speaker, Herbert Milano.
Good afternoon, Chairman Khan, members of the Parking and Recreation Commission. My name is Herbert Milano. It has been some time since the last time I came here to speak. My general advocacy has been to shine a light on the deficiency of parkland in South Glendale. According to the U.S. Census, the population of Glendale remained fairly stagnant in the past 10 years. But from my experience, because I do own property in this area, the Recreational Planning Area 10, about 4 blocks from here, I'm very aware of the deficiency in parkland, primarily for residents who live in multifamily housing. My tenants, I know that have very little recourse in finding adequate park space, basketball courts, areas where the kids between the ages of, let's say, 6 and 18 would have a place to play. In the past, one of the councilmen assisted us in providing fees that we pay to the YMCA, just so that the kids in my building would have a place to play. Now, the city for a long time has set out policies and objectives, plans, but I don't often hear those plans being brought up and reviewed to see if those policies are being followed. There was a report 10 years ago by the Blue Ribbon Commission on Parks and Open Space that defined very clearly the deficiency in parkland in this area of Glendale. It couldn't have been more clear, and I'm suggesting that in the future, perhaps in the next, you can agendize it for you to review it. In 1996, in the greater downtown specific plan, the shortage was clearly defined. A shortage of a minimum of 16 acres that needed to be brought up, and it was put down on paper, never followed through. The issues that were brought out with regard to the adult recreation center and the parking also has been brought up in the past. And those two issues, the lack of adequate parking space and the lack of adequate parkland, go hand in hand. When I brought out these issues continually a few years back, many ideas came forward, including the idea of putting a subterranean parking. That kind of money generally would be coming out of the redevelopment agency, but the redevelopment agency never followed through in providing the kind of funds necessary. The adult recreation area, or the Central Park area, is perhaps our last major contiguous space of parkland that we need for all of the community, not just the adults. And unfortunately, it is paved over to about a third of its area. And I think there is a significant opportunity for the city to invest properly in regard to putting subterranean parking that would serve both the park and the library and the rest of the community to come there for those recreational needs. The city has managed in a way to tally that type of deficiency. And if you ever go to the quality of life indicators for 2009, just Google it, and there's on a website all these various indicators. There are two indicators that I would like for you to review. One of them is the indicators concerning childhood obesity. It has increased in the past 3 to 4 years, significantly. And you look at that and you look at the shortage of parkland. There are many areas in Glendale that have a parkland that roughly approximate 6 acres per 1,000 residents. The recreational area, planning area 10, has 0.017 acres per 1,000. That's less than half an acre for 30,000 people. We cannot continue ignoring the needs of this area any longer. And I am here to suggest that you agendize a study, a review of those two documents that I mentioned earlier, and a review of maybe an update of the recreational planning area so that it can be addressed. In the past, the policy of the City of Glendale, and I can say this with a certain amount of assurance, has been to wait for federal HUD funds to come through or to wait for some type of measure at the county level for them to become available. But this is the most deficient and unrepresented area when it comes to parkland. And oftentimes the answer is, well, let's put a mini park. Well, that takes care of the needs of toddlers or children 5 and under, and maybe very sedentary adults who cannot move very well, and maybe 70 and over. But you have between the ages of 6 to 60 that is not being addressed. If you want to right now go and run a mile from here, let's say you have to run the streets. You don't have a contiguous place where you could actually get the kind of exercise that is needed to keep families and adults and the elderly healthy. I believe that the way the budget is being constructed is incredibly unfair to these communities, and I think that it needs your input and your involvement in bringing this to light in front of the City Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. What is next?
Item 5, consent items. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of the commission or audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before a motion is proposed. At 5A, approval of the minutes of the commission regular meeting held on March 21st, 2011.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Commissioners Bennett?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Rottfogel is absent. Sharkey?
Yes.
President Khan.
Yes.
Item 6, business agenda. At 6A, action items. At 6A1, motion to approve fees for Pacific Community Pool.
President Khan and members of the Commission, I'd like to introduce Gabrielle Goglia. She is our Community Service Supervisor in charge of our sports section and aquatics programs.
Good afternoon, President Khan, members of the Commission. I'm Gabrielle Golia, and I'm here today with a proposed rental package for our upcoming Pacific Community Pool. My office has already received a handful of phone calls requesting rates on renting the pool, and so we felt that now would be the time to bring it to you and bring some proposed rates to you and get these set so that as people are calling in and asking about the new pool that we have some answers for them. We, at this point in time, don't really know how many rentals we might get in a year, so we don't know the fiscal impact of this type of rental, but the fees that we've proposed do cover all of the staff costs and proposed maintenance costs, including chemicals, heating the pool, splash out of the water and refilling of the water, that sort of thing. We based these costs partially on the staff costs and those things that I just mentioned. And then also we looked at other cities that have community pools to try and make sure that our rates are consistent with those. Those other cities are a bit across the board. Everybody charges a bit of a different rate, and they set up their rates in a bit of a different way. Some charge a flat rate for the rental, and then they charge for all the different staff. Some charge for per hour, and then for up to a certain number of kids in the water, and then add on staff after that. So when I've given you in your packet is a comparison of cities for a 2-hour rental of 50 people so that you could kind of compare apples to apples with the rental package. The proposal for the fees that we would like to put out is that to rent the whole pool for a private party, this would be a birthday party or a swim meet, anything that they would need the entire pool for. They would get to use the pool, the deck, and they could have up to 30 people in it for the base rate. Our pool capacity is 243 people, so that's the max they could have at their party. We propose $150 an hour with a 2-hour minimum and a deposit of $200 just in case something happens, like we have a fecal accident and we have to shock the pool and close it for a while and put in the extra chemicals to accommodate for that, unfortunately. We have a nonprofit rate for the same rental of the whole pool of $112.50 an hour for a 2-hour minimum. And then for a commercial party or a film package, someone wants to come in and they're going to be making money off of their rental, we propose $225 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. And then we also looked at it and said, well, maybe people wouldn't want to rent all the lanes in the deep end. Maybe they have a little child's party and they want to just rent our shallow end. So we put together some prices for just the shallow end. And that is $100 with a 2-hour minimum, $100 an hour with a 2-hour minimum, $75 for the nonprofit per hour, and the commercial rate is $150 an hour. Any staff above that, that starting 30 kids, any staff that we would need for a party above 30 kids would be $20 an hour. And that will accommodate an additional 25 people, 1 to 25 people over that 30. We also looked at lane rentals. If we were open for rec swim or lap swim, I apologize for lap swim, and someone wants to rent just a lane for maybe a swim team practice, they want to come in during our lap swim hours and have their team practice in 1 or 2 lanes, they could rent it for $10 an hour for 1 hour. We're scheduled to open the new pool on June 4th, and we would be taking these types of rentals outside of our normal operating hours. We would not be impacting the regular schedule and the public with this. It would be for additional party time. Can I answer any questions about it?
Sure, I think we have a number of questions.
Sure.
A real simple one. So what are the normal operating hours?
That's a good question. We will have recreation swim on Saturdays and Sundays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. That's our tentative schedule right now. And then during the weekdays, we will be open. Lap swim will be early in the mornings. I believe it's from 7 to 9 a.m. We may have some water aerobics at the same time for adults. And then from 9 a.m. through noon, we will have lessons. From 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, we will have recreation swim again, Monday through Friday. And then from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock, we will have lessons again. 7 to 8, possibly some additional lap swim time available.
Can you slow that down again?
Sure, yes. And it's actually all available on our website at www.glendaleaquatics.com. We've just posted all of our lesson times and lap times. Monday through Friday, lap swim will be early in the morning, between 7 and 9. Lessons from 9 a.m. until noon.
Okay.
We'll take a 1-hour lunch break. From 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock, we will have recreation swim. From 4 o'clock till 7 o'clock, we'll have more lesson times. And from 7 to 8, we are going to try for some additional lap swim times. Okay. And then on the weekends, we'll have just recreation swim from 1 to 4.
So basically, the easiest time to rent this would be on weekends in the morning or after 4 o'clock?
Yes. Those will be the primary times. We would be willing to make exceptions for the only during non-operating hours rentals for big swim meets. If a group wanted to come in and rent out the whole facility for a large swim meet, those sometimes can't be done by 1 o'clock. So we could work with those on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
How would you rent out a portion, like a lane or a part of the pool, and kind of coordinate that?
Well, with the lane rentals, we would only do that during lap swim, where the lanes are all delineated anyways. And so we would make one lane is available for, say, a swim team of 10 people. We would put a cone in front of it and make sure as lap swimmers are coming in, they're not going into that lane. That lane would be reserved for only the swim team. It's something that the Rose Bowl has a similar process. And sometimes they run multiple programs out of different lanes at the same time.
So if stay away from lap swim. If there's a small child that has a party and rents out the shallow end of the pool?
That would only be available during non-open hours. So basically, the reason we did that half is we would need less lifeguards. So there's a lane line that actually divides the shallow end from the deep end. Yeah. And that way, we can put one lifeguard on tower watching just the shallow end for up to 30 people. If we have the whole pool open, we have to have 2 lifeguards on duty. So it saves the customer money if they only have small children.
Sure. Questions? We do have a speaker. We may have some more questions, but Absolutely. Let me hear from the speaker. Herbert Milano.
Chairman Khan, members of the Parks and Recreation Commission, my name is Herbert Milano. You know, it took us a very long time to appeal to get the funding appropriate for this pool. I know it took years, and I know Margaret Hammond also came here continually to speak and to the City Council in order to ensure that the pool would be open to as many people as possible. I remember taking my children to the previous pool on Pacific Park, and I remember that there were so many blocks of hours that were just simply blocked off, where we couldn't have the open swimming and the open recreational swimming. my concern is that many children who are not participating in organized swimming or whose families cannot afford to pay the organized programs, that they may be left out of the process. And it was my hope that the city would maximize the amount of open swimming and open recreational type swimming so that we can invite more and more of the kids who are not now partaking of swimming facilities and who have not done so for years. I bring this up because I would be very concerned if the time, in order to sort of like meet the department's, additional budget sources for revenue, that we now begin to consider these type of forfeit type events at the detriment of open swimming or open recreational swimming that the population needs. It is my hope that the city and the department will begin to tally a way of basically figuring out how many kids are partaking in the nearby community of these facilities and how to expand the knowledge that there is open swimming available for these kids. Oftentimes they don't need an organized or type event or a club or a membership in order for them to get the exercise they need just by having the pool available. But it is my hope that as a policy that you go after expanding the reach to as many kids as possible so that they can partake of this particular investment, and maybe less so in the organized area so that we can really expand the numbers. I know that there are conflicting interests here of individuals who want that time and the availability of the facilities. But we really need to think very hard as far as reaching out to us far and wide within the Glendale community to bring these families and these children in to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you can come back up. I think that was a good point in terms of maximizing the open recreational swimming. Talk about that in terms of the hours and the days and things like that. I know you gave us times, but how does that fit in?
Well, the recreation swim is the time that we're open to the general public with no organized activities. For a child ages 4 to 12 years old, it's 50 cents to enter. For 12 to 18, it's $1. So we're trying to include the entire community with that, and we do keep a tally of how many kids are coming in on a daily basis for that. We actually had originally looked at weekends being open for recreation swim a longer period of time, and we called a number of other cities and did research with them. And we found that they weren't open as many hours for recreation swim on the weekends, and our concern about it was the same as theirs, which is that when we're open for a long period of time straight through, we start to have more accidents. The kids get really tired. They don't understand their own bodies, and they don't understand when they've reached their capacity for being out in the sun, being in the water, and not eating lunch, not taking the breaks and drinking the water that they're supposed to. And so from a safety standpoint, we decided to limit our hours to match the other cities around us, such as Burbank and Pasadena and the public pools. So that's why we put a 3-hour limit on our recreation swim per day. We aimed it at the afternoon hours because we found that most of the kids had their lunch by then, so they had nutrition, they were coming on over, and it was the warmest part of the day, so it's the time when the kids want to come swimming more.
So does our recreation swim time match up pretty well with other cities? Are we more? Are we less? Are we about the same?
We're about the same as the other cities around us. We tried to make sure that we were at least open as long as they are, and if not longer. But we didn't want to go too much longer just because we've already seen it operating the high school pools is too long. The kids just, they don't go home. And with swimming, that's a problem because they do get really tired, and that's when we start having those near swimming accidents that we want to avoid at all costs.
I know this year you're opening on June 4th.
Yes.
But in a normal year like next year, when will the pool open and when will it close in terms of the length of of time it's open during the year?
Based on the current budget that we have for it for the next 3 years, we will open on the first day of summer break for the kids. So if they get out of school on a Friday, we'll be open that Saturday at Pacific Pool. And we will stay open through the end of summer once they go back to school. The Glendale Unified School District is switching their schedule a bit right now. They're starting to shift towards getting out of school a little earlier and going back a little earlier. So we will shift our schedule to match theirs so that the local community has the most time in our pool.
Okay.
That means right now, this summer, that would mean June 20, if it were this summer, it would be June 27th through August 27th, I believe, somewhere right around there. But we are going to run a bit extended summer this year because of the grand opening.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering because I know that the school district is talking about moving their start of school to the middle of August, and it seems like the end of August and September, even into October, are pretty hot months in Glendale.
Yeah.
So what happens to the pool during that period of time?
At this point in time, we don't have the funding to stay open past the summer months. We're budgeted to be open when the kids are out of school. It would be available for private rentals past the start of school. And then once the weather cools off, we actually have a winterizing cover that will be put on the pool in order to save on utilities.
Okay, thank you.
So the facility's closed about 75% of the time?
During the year?
Yeah.
Yes, at this point in time.
That's why it makes some sense to me to maximize it when it is open and not say, okay, it's just 3 hours of this time, even if it's 4 hours or 5 hours, to get the maximum use out of it because it is mostly closed. So in terms of those hours that you said 1 to 4, I mean, whether it was 12 to 4 or 11 to 4, at least we got more use out of the pool.
We can certainly look at it. We had made that decision based on the safety issues. That was really the primary driving force on choosing a shorter recreation swim time, which is partly why we brought together the rental package to maximize use of the pool for birthday parties and for the community. We can definitely go back and look at our operating hours as well.
I wish you would because we do have lifeguards out there. Obviously, safety is very important. But if we could expand that time for that short period that it is open, it would make a lot of sense.
Well, and if the problem is keeping kids there too long, I mean, you can be open, say, for 2 hours, and then you shut down for half an hour and everybody has to leave, right? And then you're open another 2 hours. So
Yes, we could plan a lunch break into it. We could do a morning session with a lunch break and then forcing the kids to take a break and come back in the afternoon, absolutely.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman Khan, members of the Commission, obviously there are some programming things that we can do. This is our first year of operating the Pacific Park pool, the new pool, so we have a lot to learn in terms of the reality of the demand, for example, for rentals. I mean, the demand may not even be there, but if it is, we wanted to be prepared. So we'll continue to look at the programming. We'll continue to figure out the best way and the most cost-effective way to operate the pool and to keep it staffed, and if there's any way that we can have an extended summer, that will be our goal. And we'll continue to monitor the budget to see how far we can stretch out each summer season for at least the next 3 years.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much. Questions or comments or a motion or questions? Okay.
Well, I agree with Jess that the most important thing, since this is the first time we've done this, is to see what the reaction is.
See how it works out.
Are people coming? Are they not coming? If they're not coming, why aren't they? If they are, but I agree. I mean, we just don't know at this point.
I move that we approve the proposed rental fees for the Pacific Community Pool effective May 1st, 2011.
Okay, I'll second it.
Commissioners Bennett?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Rob Vogel's absent. Sharkey?
Yes.
President Khan?
Yes, but I'd also like to throw in there about the hours. Looking at the study for the hours, to expand the hours would make sense.
Well,
Thank
this is
you.
brand new.
Right.
See how we go.
Thanks.
Next item at 6A2, motion to approve fees for Maple Park Community Center.
President Khan and members of the Commission, I'd like to introduce Kenneth Khan. Kenneth is the Community's Recreation Supervisor at Maple Park Community Center, which has been being newly renovated as we speak.
Good afternoon, President Khan, members of Commission. My name is Kenneth Khan, Community Services Supervisor. I supervise Maple Park Community Center along with youth programs. As you may be aware, Maple Park Community Center has been undergoing a renovation of the facility in which the building was expanded by over 5,000 square feet, along with a complete renovation of the gym and existing facility. Once the building is completed, we will have another first-class facility to serve the residents of South Glendale. In accordance with the completion of the construction, we reviewed our existing rental rates for Maple Park Community Center, which were determined to be below the standards for a newly renovated community center, which offers all the amenities that Maple Park will now offer. We are asking Commission to approve the new rates for the facility, as this will help in generating future revenue for the department, as well as providing an opportunity for sports groups to gain another venue in the community. So if you look at the rates that we have currently in Exhibit 1, we're looking to basically raise the rate for the gym, $10 for the, that's actually, I'm sorry, that's a benchmark study that you're looking at compared to the other local gyms in Glendale, such as the YMCA, Chevy Chase, which is actually a gym run by the City of Los Angeles, the YMCA's gym. So our rates for Maple Park Community Center were actually a lot lower than some of those gyms in the area. We're looking to basically ask for an increase of the gym from our standard rate of $30 an hour for our weekday rate to $50 an hour, our nightly rate, which is $40 an hour, to $60 an hour, which will put us on par with a lot of the other gyms in the area. So I'm open to any questions.
I just have a brief question about the Exhibit 1.
Yes.
For comparison here. When you say standard rates, that's today's rate.
Well, standard rates basically mean our weekday rate, basically before 6 p.m. So if you're looking to rent the gym, Monday through Friday before 6 p.m., that's what we call our standard rate. But if it's an evening rate or if it's a weekend rate, we actually charge a higher amount because we actually have to bring in staff for that and so forth.
Well,
I'm just confused because in your first column it says standard rate and in your second it says proposed standard rate. So the first column is what you were charging before the building closed.
Correct.
Renovation.
Correct. And this is what we're proposing, which are the proposed standard
and then the
rates.
second one is what you're proposing that we approve today.
Correct.
Thank you.
Chairman Khan, if I could expand on that.
Yeah, good.
For most of our facilities, we have three rates. What we call the standard rate, the nonprofit rate, which is at a discount, and the commercial rates, which are higher than the standard rates. Commercial rates are for companies that use our facilities for their personal gain or for business purposes. So generally speaking, those are the three rates.
Okay, because I was confused as well, because it's, so the standard is the existing or current rate?
Correct.
And then that follows true on the nonprofit and commercial?
Correct. Well, the nonprofit rate is basically 25% less than what the standard rate would be. So if I charge $100 for a standard rate, you would pay $75 as the nonprofit. The commercial rate would be 150%. So that's how the rates are kind of broken down.
Okay. And so some of these, all of these, like we didn't have standard rates before for meeting room B or kitchen, that's a new room or new fee. Is that what that is?
The kitchen and the gym are pretty much the only rates that are going up. Reason being is the kitchen was completely renovated. In the renovation, we charged $20 an hour before. We're proposing $30 an hour because, it's a brand new kitchen now. The gym, which was $30 an hour, which is obviously a brand new gym with new floor, new lighting, and, works. And then there's also an outdoor terrace that was added, which, is now a new room. So we're actually proposing $30 an hour, which we compared to, our other community center, which has an outdoor terrace also.
The gym component do leagues play in this gym, or is it just?
Well, we have drop-in play for the kids that we set forth basically before 6 p.m. And then after 6 p.m. we have most of our rentals that come in and rent the facility. We do have, a lot of different groups that come in, such as Home Minutemen, a lot of private rentals, a lot of private companies that actually rent with us for the rental rates that we offer.
I guess I'd go back to the last question we had with the swimming is what are the what is the time that it's open to the public, and what are the hours of operation?
Well, basically, drop and play is available from 2:30 to 6. However, if it's the summer hours, we open 2 hours earlier, 12:30. So we're open 12:30 to 6 during the summer hours for drop and play. Also for spring, we kind of go off what Gabrielle was saying earlier in terms of the Glendale Unified schedule. When they extend their hours, we extend our hours for drop and play. We go basically 12:30 to 6, which allows a whole lot of time for the kids to play. And then we kind of keep the evenings reserved for rental and so forth.
If there's no rental, what do we do in the evening? What time is our closing time in the evening?
We typically close at 9 p.m. But we also, within the weekdays, we set one night for drop-in volleyball, which is from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. We kind of go off the needs of the community, and that's been a pretty, popular program for us. So we kind of keep that, and then we also keep the weeknights open for the rentals as well.
So if there is no rental, then the gym is open for drop and play?
Correct. The gym is open for drop and play, exactly.
What percentage is that, roughly?
Well, to be honest, we pretty much rent the gym every weeknight. I mean, we haven't had a problem renting it, so.
Any other questions? Comments? Motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that the Commission approve the proposed fees for the newly renovated Maple Park Community Center effective May 1st, 2011.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Commissioners Bennett?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Scott Vogel is absent. Sharkey?
Yes.
President Khan.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At 6B, reports, information only. At 6B1, Doctor's House Annual Review.
Good afternoon, President Hahn and Commissioners. My name is Sonia Montejano. I'm the director of the Doctor's House Museum. And on behalf of the Glendale Historical Society, we're here to present to you the year-end report for the museum. I'd like to start off by telling you that our attendance number of visitors to the museum continues to increase at a rate of 50% per year. We had over 2,000 visitors, and as you can see, that's 100% increase over the past 2 years. At this point, I'd like to turn over the presentation to our assistant director. After decades of the position being vacant, it was filled this past year by a gentleman that stepped forward. He is a vibrant person. It is my privilege to work with such a high-minded and high-spirited individual. I can't say enough about him, and his name says a lot. Peter Roosh.
Thank you, President Khan and honorable commissioners. High-minded, huh? Thank you. My name is Peter Roosh, and I'm a former board member of the Glendale Historical Society, and currently am serving in a newly created position in 2010, and that is Assistant Director of the Doctor's House. I live approximately one long block on Grandview from the Doctor's House, and I would like to say that I'm probably, with rare exceptions of maybe a holiday, I am in Brand Park or in the Doctor's House every single day of the year. I had the honor of attending the dedication of that first segment of the Riverwalk last Thursday, and had the privilege of meeting several of you that are here today. And I'd like to say that I feel when that segment is done and we're connected with Griffith Park, and we get people out of their cars and walking and hiking and biking and using the Sharrows on Grandview, that I think you're going to see an even greater increase in attendance in Brand Park after they finish the rehab of the library and the Doctor's House. So we have a lot to look forward to. I'd like to give just a little bit, especially for the viewers, a little bit of the background of the Doctor's House. The Doctor's House of Queen Anne Victorian was built in 1890. And in 1894, the first of 4 doctors that occupied that house during a 20-year period, the upper left, Dr. Bogue, in the middle, and the next one was Dr. Bryant, and on the right, the last doctor was Dr. Hurt. And then at the bottom is Dr. Hunt, who was a contemporary of Mr. Brand of Brand Park and proudly had one of the first cars in Glendale. So for 20 years, these 4 doctors occupied that house, and hence that's why it's called the doctor's house. When the first doctor, Dr. Bogue, moved in 1894, there were approximately 13 families in the Glendale Valley. When the last doctor, Dr. Hurt, interesting name for a doctor, but he was actually a chemist. When he left the house in 1914, there were 3,000 people living in Glendale, so it was a huge increase of population. For the next 65 years, the house exchanged several different owners, and in 1980 it was destined for the wrecking ball because a contractor came in and decided he wanted to build, which is existing now, an apartment building on the corner of Belmont and 3rd Street, which is now Wilson. So thank goodness for the spirit of volunteerism. We had a core group of people, started with Carol Doherty and Marie Luft and her husband Glenn Luft, who decided they wanted to save this house. It was one of 2 existing Victorians left in Glendale, and they didn't want it to see it to go to the wrecking ball. After a lot of working with the city council at that time, it was finally okayed, and the house was cut in half, trailered in the middle of the night, 5 miles from its location on Belmont and Wilson up to Brand Park. And these people, these wonderful people that were the seeds of the beginning of the Glendale Historical Society, because that's when we were founded, they were the people that every single weekend, there was a group of 50 people that volunteered to put this house back together. First take it down to the studs, and then fix everything and put it back together and bring it up to current standards. They had, of the 50 people, usually 30 people would show up every weekend. And these are people that varied from as young as 6 years old to as old as people in their 80s that learned new skills. Of course, the reconstruction of the house was overseen by very capable people, but volunteers like you and me learned how to sand things, how to paint things, how to do the physical part of putting this house back together. So it took 4 years to get the house back together. And this year, we celebrated our 30th anniversary of the moving of the house in 1980 to Brand Park. And we replicated the walk, which is seen in the upper right-hand corner from 3rd and Belmont up to Brand Park. There was a stalwart group of people that took that walk. I was one of those people, that 5-mile walk. One person even did it in shower shoes. And we had a little wagon with a Victorian house to celebrate the moving of the house, and that was really exciting. That kicked off our anniversary. Also, this last year, the Glendale Historical Society financed the production of a book called Memories of the Doctor's House, A Labor of Love. And that would be Marie Luft, the lady in the center, and her husband, Glenn, on the left, and Carol Doherty, who still lives here in Glendale. We put this book together, and it's a wonderful memoir as told as only Marie Luft could tell stories of what went on to make this house be what it is today. And the inset picture is a picture of them just last September when we had our annual meeting celebrating the 30 years. In our relation with the city, we're required to, as a museum, to have the Doctor's House open 4 hours a month, and we have changed that. The Doctor's House is open every single Sunday from 2 to 4, unless it's raining or unless it's a major holiday. But during those 2 hours, we have docented tours. As you can see, many of the docents like to dress in the style of the era. We have a core staff of approximately 15 docents, and these are all volunteer positions. We have a support staff of seasoned veterans of 5 people that are there to help out however they can, or if they're called upon if people don't show up. And in addition, we created something new this year. The board members of the Glendale Historical Society, there are 9 members, they take turns rotating every Sunday, and they act as a greeter on the porch. This was just taken last weekend, and you see one of the docents greeting people on the front porch, and they take them in small groups through the house. Also, this last year, we had 2 candlelight tours in December. We used to just have one. We had 2 this last year. It was extremely popular. We decorate the house entirely this last year in Victorian theme, the inside. And there's a light display by a man named Craig Lighthizer, who has antique lanterns, and we have those displayed throughout the house. We have children playing in the gazebo. It's a wonderful event during the holidays. And the second Sunday that we had it just before Christmas, I don't know if you remember, it was pouring rain. And we were debating whether we should do it or not. We did it, and we had over 100 people come in the rain to come on our candlelight tour. We also sponsor school field trips, and these can vary with the time that the teachers have. But the school trips, field trips, are usually during the week, and we have a couple of dedicated docents that are really specialized in this field. 2 of them happen to be ex-teachers in the Glendale school system. They know how to handle the kids. We usually have a class of between 30 and 35 kids. Sometimes it's 40. That gets a bit unwieldy. They come up to the park. We keep them occupied with events. And say we have 40 kids, 30 of them are doing different events that children would have done in Victorian times. Then we take them in groups of 10 through the house, and they learn how people lived in Victorian times, what that crank phone is on the wall, the medications that doctors gave in Victorian times. This is just one of the many letters that we get from children that go through these tours. This says, "Dear Mrs. Meyer and Mrs. Hanson, thank you for bringing the doctor's house to Brand Park. Having it in Brand makes it possible for the students to have the opportunity to learn about life in the 1800s. We learned the different chores that boys and girls had to do. We played the games that were played in the 1800s, and we learned about how they got water from a well. I also want to thank Mrs. Meyer and Mrs. Hanson for describing every room and the old traditions." So this is one of the very gratifying things that we do that is sometimes not mentioned. This last year we had a docent appreciation tea in the gazebo. Now the gazebo wasn't part of the original house on 3rd and Belmont. And it was the gazebo was built after the house was brought to this new location, and you can see that they replicated the design of the 2 porches that are on the front of the house. It's very useful. It's used a lot because it's used by the city for weddings and for receptions. It's a very nice place out on the lawn to accumulate. We thought that we would have an authentic Victorian tea for our docents and our volunteers, which you can see in the upper left-hand corner. And I'd like to add that it sounds like we have a lot of docents, but believe me, it's always changing. And we can use new docents. Anybody that's watching, I just want to say that we can train you to be a docent. We can train you to give a tour, and people love that personal touch. So feel free to get in touch with us if you'd like to docent. In the spring, we have what's called Dinner in the Doctor's House, where we have a drawing. We have a drawing where people buy tickets, and then there is an official drawing. And we have dinner for a party of 4 in the doctor's house, just as you would in the dining room of the doctor's house. The people on the right were from the year before, and this was 2010 on the left. And you see how beautifully they set the table. The food is catered by Laura Kelly. And this year it was rosemary chicken and asparagus and a wonderful dessert. And we found that the residents that just had this dinner last year didn't want to leave the house. They wanted to go upstairs and sleep in the bedroom and wake up the next morning. Another fun event that we have at the doctor's house, this last year we had a film noir series. It's held in the summer out on the lawn, and we have one of those big inflatable screens. And this last year was film noir, films that were filmed in Glendale, or at least partially in Glendale. So we showed in the 3 different months, once in June, once in July, and once in August, we showed Mildred Pierce, Gun Crazy, and Double Indemnity. it's always a really fun thing to do out on the lawn. And during that time, this is another one of those times when the doctor's house is open and people can go in on self-guided tours to see the doctor's house as well. This is something that we're very proud of that happened this last year. We funded a kiosk that's outside those gates, realizing that almost every single day of the year, since the doctor's house is only open 2 hours a week, people come up to those gates and they have no idea what the house is about usually. So we have a kiosk. I talked to the city about it, and this is a company that makes these outdoor kiosks. And on the left, you'll see the front side of it, which answers several different questions. And so people can, hikers and bikers and walkers, that hundreds of them passing every day, can come up and know, why is this house here? There's a short story about the doctors that lived here, the one that I told you, how the Victorian was moved, the restoration process, and what's inside. And of course, we're hoping that people then will learn, because the museum hours are there, the hours that it's open, and they'll want to come back and see the inside of the doctor's house. On the back side, wait a minute, there we go. On the back side, which you'll see on the right, is a bulletin board that I personally change every week. Some part of it gets changed every week. We have a lot of general information about the Glendale Historical Society and the things that are changed every week. For instance, the lower left-hand corner has Catherine Yamada's articles that are in the paper every week, so that people have something to read about what's happening with the Glendale Historical Society and what's happening with the doctor's house. So we have found that this has been a very good addition to the doctor's house grounds. On September 19th, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of moving the doctor's house to Brand Park. We had a wonderful event. We had music in the gazebo. We had food. We had the annual meeting of the Glendale Historical Society. So this was an extremely full year for us. I've talked a lot about the outside of the doctor's house, and now I'm going to talk about that other position that we just created this year. We've been looking for a long time for a curator for the doctor's house, and I'd like to introduce Dorothy Sunby, who will explain just very briefly about what we've done on the inside of the doctor's house. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Then, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I've taken on this little job that's not very taxing, I was told.
Yeah.
You know how those volunteer jobs work. I, too, grew up within a block of Brand Park, played there as a child. So it's very special to me, and I do remember the doctor's house when it was in its original location. So I'm so happy to be able to do this curator job. We are recently, within the past year, we did a little moving of the furnishings in the house. The original bedroom is on the first floor, but we have changed the bedroom by moving the bedroom furniture to the second floor and arranging an display of this lady named Nell Shipman. Nell Shipman was a major film star in 1915. So not too many of us probably saw her films. But she was from Canada, born in 1892. She died in California in 1970. She was amazing. She was an actress, an author, a screenwriter, a director, an animal trainer, and a stunt woman. This was, prior to women doing all these things. She came to California and Hollywood in 1915 and made a number of films, and if you are interested in this history, you can go to your Google and look up Nell, and you'll find out all about her movies. She moved to Glendale in 1917. She felt it was on a, quote, tree-lined dirt road away from the hubbub of Hollywood. So you can imagine how rural it was in those days. So in 1920, she lived here until 1920 with her parents, her husband, and her son. In 1918 was the great flu epidemic that around World War I that you probably have all heard of. And she got the flu, as did her mother, and her mother died in the doctor's house. We had a wonderful display about all that last year. So from the downstairs bedroom, we changed it into a display room that tells all about the history of the house. It's easier for people to see it on this first floor than it would have been on the second floor. This is the bedroom that has the line in it where you can see they sawed the house apart. The displays were donated by my daughter and her son and her husband. They own the Fast Frame shop in La Cañada. They donated all the framing and the work. So it's real interesting. If you haven't been there in some time, come up and look at our displays. They really look wonderful. So I think we're back to Peter now. Is that right, Peter?
Yep, but you can stay here.
I can stay here? Okay.
I'd like to thank you for your attention, and before we field any questions, I have for each of you a copy of Marie Luff's book, which is a wonderful book, along with our cards, so you can get in touch with us.
This is just like Oprah's show, you know.
It's better, actually.
Right. And a copy of this last December's Victorian Home Magazine, which on page 50 has a really nice spread about the doctor's house and how it's decorated at Christmas. So we'll pass these out for you. And then at this time, Sonia and Dorothy and I are all available if you have any questions that need to be answered.
Sure. Do we have questions or comments from the Commission?
I have a comment. It's a little scary. I was a minor part of that in 1980 when it was moved.
Oh, my.
So, just a minor part, but I thought 1980. And it's quite a sight to see all those kids out there playing with the Victorian toys. And they have a great day.
The girls get to wash on a washboard.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah. In fact, I think I have a picture of me with one of the kids with the washboard.
And, you know, the side effect that we have from that is quite often on a Sunday visit, we have those same kids that are bringing their parents and they're telling their parents how they drank water in Victorian times and how peanut butter sandwiches were made and how apples were cored. So it is a good side thing that brings the adults too.
Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
Yes, I just want to thank you for the wonderful report.
Thank you.
I also remember the doctor's house when it was on 3rd and Belmont, and it was quite exciting to know that it was going to be preserved in Brand Park, because it is a wonderful example. And so thank you, all three of you, for all the work that you do to make it available to the citizens of Glendale and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's an honor for each of us to be part of it. Thank you.
It's sure a nice enhancement to Glendale. I agree. Yeah. It's just very nice.
Sure. Have we, I know that we're going to start the Brand Park renovation, and I'm not sure how that, I'm assuming it's going to impact you guys somewhat. Have we accommodated, do we have accommodations for their facility, or are we not impacting that facility, or how's it working?
A little bit of parking, but really that side of the park will be fine.
Right. My understanding is, of course, the library will be hugely impacted because of the Arts Center and so on. But I think the staging is going to be more in the parking lot area, and we'll still be able to accommodate all those walkers and even the people from cars. So I don't think it's going to impact us other than maybe raise a lot of dust for a period of time.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, and I think the kiosk is a very good idea. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you again for your presentations.
6B2, monthly activity reports at 6B2A, Park Services.
President Kahn, Commissioners, my name is Gary Morello. I'm the Park Services Administrator. Give you a quick update on some of the stuff that we've been doing in Park Services. projects that we've got. We've had a couple that we've done. Wilson Mini Park was one. We've had concerns about lighting in that park since it was built, and we just decided this time to get a contractor. We took out some poles, we put in more poles, we changed the fixtures, and we changed the bulbs. That park is now very well lit. It's used a lot by a lot of the older part of the community. They use the tables a lot to play cards and backgammon and whatnot there, so there isn't even enough tables actually there, but I wanted to keep some green space, so we kept the green space there, and we just lit it well for them. We tried other ideas, solar lighting, and we tried changing light bulbs. Didn't work, so we just decided to go ahead wholesale and go ahead and change all the lighting at one time. We've been doing a lot of concentration at Stengel Field. Since we're having the Wood Bat League come in I believe, June, we've had two major projects going on there. One is a wall being built behind the or in front of the backstop to simulate a brick wall, like the old Brickyard or the old-time stadiums back east. That wall is being built right now. It's ahead of schedule. It's a lot of work to build, but it's going to look really nice when it gets all done. And then I think I've had my ball field specialist out there building two new bullpens. One for the visitor time.
That's what all those bricks were that I saw out there. All the bricks.
That's exactly right. All the bricks that were there, they had to hand carry them back there too.
Oh man.
There was no machine to get them back there. So we are in concert building it while they're playing. So when they have tournaments, we get out. When there are no tournaments, we get back in there. But it's moving along quite well. And the last one is the infamous reforestation of Shoal. It's being finished now. The last little bit of mulch is being put down. Next time we meet, I should have a presentation of the start to finish job and how it looked like when it was 6 months ago to how it looked like now. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise...
Questions? Nope. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary.
At 6B2B, Recreation and Community Services.
You have before you the activity report of the Recreation Division. Again, Volunteer Week was last week, April 11 to 16, and a total of 7,566 volunteer hours were provided by the volunteers, which is $177,196 in value to the department. So that's a very, very big help to our community centers and all our recreation facilities. That's it. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, at 6B2C, CIP projects.
As was previously mentioned, we did have the groundbreaking for the Riverwalk project last week, and that was well attended, and that went really well. And I think it gave everybody a really nice glimpse up front of what we were doing, as that view of the river and some of the facilities that exist in that area. And as was also explained, this has been happening for a while, and a lot of effort by a lot of people, here now, and those who have come before us. So that was pretty nice. We did have the staff working on the Earth Day program. Dave Marino and Jeff Weinstein put a lot of time into that. And as it was a pretty successful event, had a lot of fun, a lot of kid things there for them to do. But I know Jeff had a lot of good volunteers from the gas company, and they did a lot of tree planting and a lot of weed pulling and things like that. Some real work up there, as well as Russ having a real successful event in the evening, campfire event. He had about 70 to 75 people at his campfire program that evening, so that was really nice. Our major CIP projects dealing with Maple Park, as explained by Ken, it's nearing completion and opening. We're going to try to get our temporary occupancy permit real soon. So it is getting ready right now for inspection by the state agency. So hopefully we'll get that without any problems. The other major facility we have underway right now, Griffith Manor, the project out there for the whole park being renovated. So with, I believe with the building, that's our project manager out there, Shahin Begomian, and the building is about 80 to 85% complete. So the project is moving ahead. It looks like probably right around June it'll be wrapped. I'm sorry, back to the Maple Community Center project. Audrey Golden Nazarian is our project manager there. And again, very dedicated and putting in a lot of time on the project, a lot of time on the weekends and other times too. So she's making sure everything is to standards and what staff will need to operate that facility. Let's see here. Our swimming pool project is moving ahead and on schedule for opening, as was stated previously. So they've been doing a lot of good work there. And as the public got to see a little glimpse of the barn this past weekend for the first time, seeing what's going on there, that is working really well. They got to actually see a little computer walkthrough program and so on, and that kind of highlighted what we were trying to accomplish there, and that went very well. Let's see here. Just for the heck of it, we do have an April program coming up in the on our website to deal with activities up at the Wilderness Park, trails and open space activities. So if you get a chance to take a look at that, and encourage the public that were able to participate this past weekend to take a look at other events coming up, and if they're interested in backpacking basics or first aid or participating in the Great River Cleanup, that those are upcoming activities, and they can get more information on our website on those projects. So open for questions on any of those.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And at 6B2D, homeless programs.
Good afternoon, President Khan, members of the Commission. Before you have the Homeless Programs Activity Report. Just quickly, I'd like to go over a couple of the information. 100,000 Homes is one of the projects that the City of Glendale Community Services and Parks, along with the Glendale Homeless Coalition, has joined nationally. The purpose of the 100,000 Homes campaign is to identify homeless individuals within the City of Glendale community by doing a survey so that we can commit placing the clients into housing. Path Achieve Glendale is the nonprofit organization leading the efforts for the 100,000 homes. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. Okay, so currently over 75 communities have joined the national campaign. City of Glendale has committed to serve or house 10 chronically homeless with this project. Again, Path Achieve Glendale is the lead agency for this project. We do have a registry week which is scheduled in May. There are a couple of ways we can have staff and volunteers support the 100,000 Homes campaign. Basically, we are looking for sponsors for the event. We are looking for volunteers who will be able to come out to the community and survey the clients for 3 nights between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning. And then, of course, if you are interested in volunteering or becoming a sponsor, you can contact Christina Hanna at 818-409-3334. really why we need the sponsors is because for the project, City of Glendale and Path to Achieve is interested in joining with the community to house the 10 chronically homeless individuals. The clients are in need of furnishings, they're in need of different items that we would be needing for placing the clients into their homes. The details of the project is within your report. I would be happy to answer any questions, but we are still looking for partners to help us with this project. Glendale Management Association has sponsored also the Glendale Methodist Church. If you have any questions regarding this project, I would be happy to answer them now. If not, then I would move on to my next report.
Why don't you go ahead and move on?
Okay. Thank you. In terms of the fiscal year 2010-11 winter shelter program, as you know, LAHSA, the Los Angeles Housing Service Authority, is the agency who funds the winter shelter program, which just completed. The winter shelter program is a regional hypothermia program, which started December 1st through March 15th. This year, the program is operated by Imago and subcontracted with Path to Achieve Glendale. They served over 1,000 unduplicated homeless individuals with the winter shelter program. Several families and individuals were placed in housing. In terms of cities responsible for the coordination, the coalition is just responsible for coordinating the services for the regional program. Last year, City Council has directed staff to research a feasibility of a local winter shelter program for the City of Glendale to implement. Community Services and Parks Department will be responsible for the implementation of the local winter shelter program, which will be outside of the LAHSA's regional project. The proposed project is to provide services to 50 homeless individuals and families versus 150, which is part of the regional program. There are 4 aspects to the local winter shelter program. An operator who's willing to operate the program, where the location of the current local winter shelter program will be, how it will be funded, and of course obtaining cooperation from LAHSA and county supervisors' offices. Community Services and Parks Department has identified an operator who is Urban Initiatives to operate the local winter shelter program. We are currently looking for a site for the project. The site could be either a nonprofit agency, community centers, churches, or any public facilities. So if you are aware of any location or site that we may be able to lease between December 15th through March 15th to serve homeless clients within the local program, please contact me at 818-548-3720. The difference between the local winter shelter program and the regional run program is, again, we would be serving 50 persons at any point in time versus 150 persons. Clients would be coming into the program any time after 5 or 6 p.m. They will go through intensive case management. They will get meals and services. During the mornings, they will be asked to go to either Vertigo Job Center, any mental health services, or ongoing case management, while at the end of the program, clients will be placed in either transitional housing or permanent subsidized housing programs. So currently we are still looking for sites. We've made some presentations before the coalition and different various organizations and churches. So if you do know of a site, please let us know so that we can go ahead and start planning the program. If you have any questions regarding the proposed local winter shelter program, I can answer them now.
I do. In terms of the sites you're looking at, and I know that you're trying to balance that because it's kind of odd. You only need it for a few months. So you're going to have to find a facility that's going to lease it to you for just those short few months. And then it seems like every year you're going to have the same challenge. You're going to be moving around all over the place because you got to find somewhere that will rent to you for just a few months.
Yes.
Have we looked at anything more permanent? Like, and I don't know if it's a budget issue in purchasing a site or getting into a long-term lease or commitment with someone so we don't have this issue every every year?
President Khan, it's ideal to have one location. So far, we haven't been able to identify it. The funding is an issue. This is a pilot project for this year. We are looking at possibly at different churches to rotate the program in various churches, which that's how we used to do the program in the past. So it would be rotating a week at a time within the different churches. We're still looking for additional locations or sites, but we have not at this time looked for a permanent site to be able to purchase for the purpose of the project. And yes, it would be only temporary. We would lease the site between December 15 and through March 15 just for the, basically evening hours after 6 p.m. and until about 6 a.m. is where the clients will be leaving the site. And Jess, if you have additional comments regarding that.
Chairman Khan, Commissioners, it is a challenge, and it would be a huge financial challenge to acquire a site just for the specific purpose of a winter shelter program. That's why the most ideal situation would be an existing organization with an existing facility that can lend us that facility for 3 months out of the year to operate this program. And of course, they would be willing and able to do it if it didn't conflict with their other purposes and missions at that facility. That's why, in a lot of ways, a church with facilities, classrooms, and a gym would be ideal. The YM or YWCA, for example, if they were amenable, would be ideal. And we have had some conversations with organizations like that, but for one reason or another, we've determined that it wasn't feasible at this time. For example, there was a church nearby that was willing to step up, but their facility would need about $1 million in rehabilitation, and it was located across the street from the school. So a location and the conduciveness of location is very important as well. But we're running out of time, and if we don't secure location soon, probably within the next month or two, then LASA is going to go back and commit the Glendale Armory, and we're going to be in a position as to what we do in terms of supporting that idea or protesting it. Last spring, the council charged Yvette and I and sent us out on a mission to develop this local program.
Sure.
And it's been hard finding a place.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking so much of purchasing a site, because I know that's a big investment and there's not the resources for that. What I was thinking more of is getting into a long-term lease, because you can go out, and I'll use as an example, the old Path Achieve facility. You get into a long-term lease, you have that for those 4 months or 5 months, and then use that facility for the other 6 or 7 months for storage or some other type of city function. And that way, you're not always jumping around hoping that someone's going to allow you to do that, and you're not having a large outlay of cash either.
Yeah. President Khan, the other thing Yvette mentioned is it's developed as a pilot program versus a long-term commitment. And we have a model, we have a service provider that wants to experiment with that model. We have a commitment of housing vouchers that we control in our department. So we really want to see how this works, how we can make it work. And if we really do get the cooperation from LASA that we need to allow us to make this work, and if we're lucky enough to implement the program and we see that we can make a success out of it, then absolutely we can point to longer-term solutions in terms of the location.
That makes sense. Great.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next item, item 7, written communications.
Do we have any written communications?
We do not.
Great. Okay.
And item 8, adjournment.
We need a motion to adjourn?
I don't think so. Do we need a motion?
Then we're adjourned. Thank you.